All right, Francois and Christian, it's 10:02. I can still see people coming through the waiting room, but I know we have a lot of content today, so let's go ahead and kick it off.
Brilliant. Okay, really good to see everyone on the call today, and thanks for joining us. I hope you had a chance to join us on the previous session, which was the review of the Tableau platform capabilities for business, like talking about business impact. Amelia's going to place like a quick link to that in the chat if you didn't get a chance to attend that, but we'll make a few calls back to that during the session. So I'm Francis Zimmerman. I'm the field CTO for Tableau across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And so I own the regional CTO relationship with three groups of stakeholders. Firstly, it's resellers and system integrators. Hopefully, we've got a lot of those on the call. But secondly, also technology alliance partners. So we work a lot with our cloud providers, AWS and Snowflake and Databricks and so on and so forth. And then finally, I spend about half my time with customer tech executives. So I'd like to also introduce Christian, who's on the call and he's going to be co-presenting today.
Hello everyone. Happy to be here. As Francois said, I'm Christian. I am a principal solution engineer at Tableau, which means that my role is to make sure that customers and partners are successful implementing Tableau. I work with all of our partners in EMEA, and I hold the relationship with systems integrators as well around EMEA. And yeah, I'm super happy to be here co-presenting with Francois.
And just to introduce Amelia as well, we're going to be watching the chat and taking a bunch of Q&A from time to time. So Amelia's going to be popping in and out, also to run a bunch of surveys and activities. Amelia actually heads up our partner enablement across Europe. So it's really good to have a meeting in this. So just to kick off, before we get into slides, at Tableau, we have a really, really clear mission, and this is kind of core to understanding Tableau. Our mission is to help people see and understand data. And that has been our mission from day one, and it'll always be our mission. We believe this is transformative because helping companies to move from 20% of people using data to the whole organization engaged with data is a critical success factor today. So companies that succeed actively look for ways to get data into more parts of the organization. And that means building a data culture and democratizing data. And it means dismantling technical and organizational barriers so that you build a self-service, data environment so that people can engage with data every single day. So that's kind of what we're focusing on today. We're going to be focusing on looking at this from the point of view of those personas that need to interact with data. Right. Let me move on. Before we start, I'd like you to just save a couple of links in your browser if you can. The first one, if you didn't join our previous session, we asked you to add public.tableau.com to your bookmarks. I just want to show you why this is relevant. So this is the place where our data community gets together to collaborate on essentially the visualizations and public data projects that they're working on. So every day you'll see new visualizations added to the gallery. And this is a great way to explore kind of the capabilities of the platform. Tableau is a very, very visually versatile language. And just by checking back on this on kind of a weekly basis, you'll kind of get some inspiration about the sort of things you can do with the platform. The second link I just want you to add into your browser is developer.tableau.com. So this is a great place for you to go to get engaged with our extensibility frameworks, so our APIs and what have you. It's also like a really easy place to get a hosted Tableau environment that you can play around with. So you can use the developer program to get access to a Tableau online site, which will enable you to kind of experiment with the platform and experiment with all the APIs and integrations. So now that you've kind of added those to your browser, I just want to cover off what we are going to cover in this session and what we aren't going to cover in the session. So this is the Tableau portfolio. We cover a range of personas. We clearly cover everyone from data curator to data consumer, but we also cover off those personas that need to consume data and insights within Salesforce. And that is covered off by Tableau CRM. And I want to thank Peter Newell for presenting a session last Thursday, which covers off the Tableau CRM experience in some detail. And if you are interested in following up on that, firstly view Peter's session, but also we have a dedicated academy that is specifically covering Tableau CRM from all the angles. So that's a great way to get deep inside that product. So we won't be diving into that. We'll mainly be focusing on these 4 parts of the portfolio today. Okay, with that in mind, grab a pen and paper. We'll be running some exercises during the session. So we'll need you to write down some thoughts on some customers that you're engaging with. If you can, just jump onto chat and just give me a quick, just signal where you're calling from. So your city and country that you're calling from. We're going to be using the chat to do Q&A as we run through all of the sessions. If we skip over something that is super important to you, just tell us to hold the phone and we'll kind of go back and we'll dig into some more detail on that, because we have a lot of topics to cover. Today is mainly about what those technical capabilities feel like to use and what the user experience is. We have another couple of follow-up sessions that are scheduled that will drill into the how. And so Christian will be presenting the follow-up session first to go into the curator experience and going into some detail on that. I think I have another session scheduled with Rachel Costa to go into the Explorer experience and how you actually interact with data and consume data. So this is the agenda I've prepared for today. We're going to do a quick review of some of the topics that were covered in the previous business session, just to look at what the 9 key capabilities are that we need in order to become data and insights driven. Then we're going to dig into each of these capabilities from the point of view of specific personas. The first persona is the data consumer. They need an end-to-end experience that goes all the way from discovery through to self-service. Then we'll look at the data curator. How do you prepare data assets so that people in your organization can get maximum value out of them? Then Christian is going to jump in and cover off the mobile data consumer experience and look into embedded and external analytics. So how do I bring data into my applications and my external facing customer experiences? And then finally, we're going to touch on 2 advanced analytics topics. So we'll look at this final persona, which is what we call the data rockstar. We'll look at spatial analytics and data science integration, which are kind of more advanced topics, and we'll explore those deeper in future sessions. So I hope that agenda kind of meets with what your expectations were. This first session is a little bit of a recap of what we did in the previous business session. So really quickly, we started off by looking at the 3 core areas that companies need to invest in if they are going to become data and insights driven. Firstly, we spoke about moving from low quality, stale, ungoverned data to reliable, up-to-date governed data. So we see that companies that are immature with reporting tend to report infrequently on very few of their data assets. And as they move up this left-hand column, they are reporting on more data, they're more up-to-date, they're using their cloud platform, they're bringing all of that data into the reporting framework. But if they don't invest in empowerment, then users just export data into Excel and they end up right back where they started. So by making people empowered with self-service analytics, we move them up to this quadrant here, data-driven, governed analytics ubiquity, where everyone can surface up insights and ask their own questions without being constrained by the time it takes for IT to produce dashboards. The next dimension we looked at is this, meet users where they work. So we believe that an important trend is there are a lot of people in the organization that just will not consume analytics unless you put it where they work. So we need to constantly look for ways to move from standalone analytics to analytics as part of every business workflow. When we do that, we become truly data-driven because we can use data plus digital technologies to create new processes and culture and customer experiences. So that's kind of where we want to be. And the way we get there is we encourage our organizations to look at whether they are great in these 3 pillars. So the first pillar is, can they bring together all their data assets at scale? Can they govern them? Can they establish trust? The second pillar is, can they meet all their personas? So we know that there are 3 groups of people that we need to meet. The first group of people are the people that are using dashboards to bring together data from multiple business apps into these new analytical experiences so that they can explore data in context across multiple apps. The second group of people are people that are asking brand new questions. And these people tend to use things like natural language and augmented analytics to transition from guided analytics, which is kind of dashboard centric, to completely unconstrained. And then this third group of people here are people that are reluctant users of data. They will not use data unless it's inside their workflow. So how we embed and how we bring data inside there is super important. This is kind of what Peter covered off when he was talking about the Tableau CRM experience last Thursday. Then There's this final pillar here where we can see people are just starting to invest, which is they are thinking about analytics as part of every business workflow. So they're saying a data point is not enough. I need to turn that from data into action. So I need to make it easy for people to kick off the next step. And then what we did last time we got together was we went through 9 specific functions which every organization needs in order to be great in these 3 quadrants. And today we're going to look at the experience, how we use all of these capabilities in an end-to-end fashion. So the 9 capabilities are firstly in the data column. We first look at how we can access all data and combine it at scale. We look at how we can enable business users to reshape data so that they don't take it out of the platform. So if it's in the wrong shape, they can generate new secondary assets. We look at how we govern the data, how we can enable lineage and governance across all of your data assets. In this empowerment column in the middle here, we look at how we can enable people to discover content so that they can break out of the analytic silos that they're in. They can look for other assets that are relevant across the organization. We look at how we enable these 3 modes of analytics, so visual, natural language, and augmented, so that we can meet all those personas where they're using the experiences that they need. And then finally, we look at how we enable collaboration, so people can create metrics that are mobile optimized views of the data. They can subscribe to data-driven alerts. They can invite other people into the conversation so that more people in the organization work with data. And then finally, in this right-hand column, we touched on 3 specific capabilities. The first is embedding, which we'll cover off during the session. The second is mobile, which enables us to meet people, where they work. And then we won't cover off a lot of workflow integration during the session, but that is perhaps something we should explore in future topics. So if you took part in this exercise during the last section, I'd love if you can get up the piece of paper that you went through. But if you haven't, I'd just like to go back through this exercise. So I'd like you to draw up on your piece of paper a tic-tac-toe board. And we just like to red, amber, green each of these capabilities, because these are what we're going to explore during the workflow as we go forward. So the first one is essentially, can you access all the data you need to make decisions about your business? Can you easily combine data from multiple apps? So this is red, amber, green. I'd like you to either answer this for your organization or for a customer that you are intimately familiar with, because this is all about creating empathy as we go through those workflows. So red, amber, green on the bottom left. On the data prep thing, do your business users have the tools they need to reshape and clean data in a governed way, or do they export into Excel? Governance, for the reports that you rely on, do you know exactly where the data comes from and what the quality is? Now, in this enablement column, can you effectively find new data assets that may be relevant? Red, amber, green. How do you analyze data? Do you rely on static reports? Do you use interactive dashboards, or are you able to self-serve answers to brand new questions without going back to core IT? And in the top one here, can you effectively share findings with members of your team and invite others to collaborate on a data investigation? And then just on this right-hand side, just from top to bottom, do you bring analytics into your business apps, or is reporting a sidecar, red, amber, green? Can you access insights effectively on mobile? And then finally, how easy is it to go from a data point to a next action? Okay, so hopefully you've now got like a red, amber, green understanding of either your organization or your customer. And I'd like us to kind of use that as a point of reference as we go through each of the experiences, really. And the starting point is we're going to look at the data consumer experience. So when we are trying to bring data to all the consumers, there's a couple of things we need to do. Firstly, we need to help the whole organization build a data culture and make better decisions faster. And that means that, frankly, dashboards aren't enough. If people are just sharing links to dashboards, then they aren't building a data culture. What it feels like to have a connected experience for data consumers is to have this end-to-end workflow that you see up here, where people can move between these different experiences without leaving the browser, and they retain inside, they keep control of the information within the platform. So the starting point is they need to be able to discover assets. They need to be able to use dashboards, but the dashboards need to provide these kind of guided analytics experiences where they can move in context between multiple apps. Then they need to, if they need to ask a new question, they need to be able to transition to natural language. Without leaving the browser experience, they need to be able to escalate from natural language to ask deeper questions in their visual analytics workbench. Then they need to be able to leverage the power of AI to work alongside them. So this is augmented analytics, where they use an AI to generate hypotheses for why a data point may be so unusual. And then finally, when they've cracked it, when they've come up with an amazing insight, they need to be able to share that with other people in the organization. Or if they're struggling, they need to be able to invite other people to collaborate on an investigation with them. So that's the flow that brings analytics from the dashboard to the whole organization. The second key thing to bear in mind about what makes the Tableau experience unique is we still have the difference between a visual analytics platform and a graph builder. So what you see is there are a lot of tools out there that encourage you to start your investigation with a list of charts, and then you kind of fill in the axes by choosing data points. And frankly, that is not a great way of encouraging understanding of information. If you take a cognition-focused perspective, which Tableau does, we say, let's start off with the data points and let's have the platform map those to pre-attentive attributes. So we are trying to optimize the understanding of the data. So instead of starting with a list of charts, we'll start with a list of data points and we'll automatically visualize the data in ways that make sense. So you'll see as we use the platform, you'll see I will start off with one chart, and as I drag additional data points into the view, the chart evolves and changes. So it's a very, very visually versatile way of doing it, but it's also designed based on primary research, which is how do we actually understand data using our visual cortex. So let's go into a quick demonstration of what the guided analytics flow feels like. I'm going to start off in the same, actually, let me go back a little bit. When we kind of covered this off last, we kind of looked at the homepage and how Tableau encourages discovery of new insights. So we kind of looked a little bit at recommendations. We looked at the fact that when you log on to your platform, you need to be constantly pushed to other data assets, for example, that other people like you are looking at. Or down here, we've got something which is trending across my organization. So this is a great way of breaking people out of their analytical silos. Other ways are, pushing in, if things have been shared with me, bring that into my data portal. If I've favorited stuff, make it so that I can easily find stuff when I'm out and about on my mobile devices and what have you. So this is my favorites pane, and I'm going to dig into the same gender equality dashboard that we looked at last time.
Francois, can we take a quick question?
Yes, Amelia.
So sorry, you are going through so much great stuff, but I want to hit pause very quickly. Because I think Alberto has a really great question. He wants to know, what if a pattern is not recognized within the known one from Tableau? How would you handle that?
Sorry, do you mean in terms of, I'm just trying to understand, is this in terms of, I need to bring in like a custom machine learning model to recognize a new pattern, or?
That's my understanding of it, Francois. Yeah, if you can, I think you just, or maybe Alberto, can you just qualify your question a little bit more before we move past it?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for taking the question. Yeah, I was just wondering when you were describing, saying like you don't need to understand beforehand what type of graph, what type of visualization you need, because Tableau will do it for you. So I was curious to understand what happens if Tableau is not able to do that, because I imagine that some patterns will be applied, but not 100% of the times Tableau will be able to understand what's the best pattern for that.
Oh yeah, you can manually pull data points onto specific visual attributes. So you can say, I'd like to map this to position or size or color or whatever. So you can tweak the visualization and then it evolves. So that's the way that people, when you look at gallery, what they're doing is they are being really prescriptive about exactly where they map it. So you can accept the best practice, or you can tweak it yourself. I guess what we're really keen on is the reason we took that approach is we want to make sure that people get like high value first, and then the kind of experts, the data rock stars, can also use the platform to generate these like really off the wall custom visualization. Let's go through that while we're going through the Visual Analytics Workbench. So the starting point for our last discussion was we went through this dashboard here, which is looking at gender equality across a fictitious company. We looked at the fact that, look, it's very easy for me to use something like this to kind of benchmark countries against each other. And in this case, I'm looking at UK and Ireland versus the rest of Europe, for example. and I can easily like see kind of where I've got countries that are effectively addressing the imbalance of men versus women, and countries that are being less effective about that. So that's the sort of thing that these guided analytics experiences enable me to do. They enable me to answer kind of the known unknowns. But we mentioned the fact that someone may come to me and they may ask a specific question. So in this case, they might say, have recent recruitment practices changed the way that changed the profile? You know, it's the balance between men and women. And they may point out quite correctly that this dashboard doesn't contain the information that they need to answer that question. So there are a couple of ways of going deeper. The way that we showed last time was, look, you might want to jump into a completely blank sheet of paper. You might want to use natural language. And if you're a novice data user, this is probably the simplest way for you to become self-service enabled. So you might, for example, want to look at employees by gender and by grade. And then, you know, possibly pull in tenure range as well, so that I can see if recent hiring practices have changed hiring behavior. And that's all okay. I mean, that's a great way. You can even save this off and then open this in a visual workbench and keep on mapping it. But what you may do if you're an expert is you may just say, look, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to take these visualizations that you have here as a starting point, and I'm going to evolve them to answer new questions. So in this case, I have a visualization here on my dashboard, which my users are comfortable with. This speaks the visual language they're used to. In this case, I want to be able to drag on, I want to be able to ask the question, what is the behavior for recent hires versus old hires? And the way we do that is we have an Excel-like notation, which enables us to define new business logic. So if I've got a new hire like Boolean here, and I'm gonna say anything which has tenure of less than 2 years is classed as a new hire. What have we done here? Great. Then I now have a fact that I can pull into my visualization, and I can start to compare what does the behavior look like for new hires versus existing hires. And that's kind of great. You know, I might want to simplify this, so I'll keep on dragging my data around. I might say, look, I don't actually care about the absolute numbers. What I care about is percentages of total. And this is another thing that Tableau is really good at doing. Tableau is really good at doing part to whole comparison. These things are typically difficult because you typically have to reshape your data in order to, for example, move from an absolute value to percent of total. But we can very easily define, am I doing the percent of total, for example, across the whole table or across a specific pane, which in this case is a grade. And that's the way we quickly reshape data to answer a new question. So now what I've done is I've kind of generated a new view, which is for existing hires versus new hires. Let's see if we can make that more efficient. For existing hires versus new hires in each of the grades, what is the balance in terms of male versus female recruitment? And you can see that actually the biggest gains that we've made are actually in the higher grades. We've made relatively small gains. If actually we've gone in most of the other grades. So that's kind of a good starting point. The other thing you may want to do is you may want to answer some bonus questions. So you may want to take something like this. You know, again, we'll duplicate that off because we know that people are used to working with us. And you may want to, you know, take this new fact, which I've got new hire, and drag that on here and see how does the gender age profile evolve if I look at existing hires versus new hires. And you know, we can even go into some more advanced visualization. So for example, if you want to say, look, instead of analyzing data at the cohort level, I'd like to analyze it at the individual level. You know, that's something which I can relatively quickly map up with Tableau. So what I do is I say I'd like to map age and tenure to my positions. I'd like to group the data at the level of employee ID. Let's convert that to something like a density plot. It's going to make it easier for me to get through all the noise. And then let's look at what that looks like. So for each contract type, firstly, what is my tenure versus age? I'm getting a lot of noise here. I've got all of these casual and contract and external employees, which are showing as like 0 tenure. So I'm only going to keep the permanent employees because that's what I'm analyzing. And then maybe I want to break that up. Maybe I want to say, let's break that up by, new hire versus existing hire. Let's look at whether or not we are being successful at addressing some of the imbalances, or let's even pull in gender as well. And then we've created like a small multiple, which enables me to ask multiple questions at one time. So that's the way Tableau works. Tableau keeps on changing the visualization type rather than you start off with a static visualization and that's all you've got. Okay, so that is the first persona we wanted to cover off, which is the person that uses the data consumer that uses guided analytics and self-service tools in a combined experience so that they can ask brand new questions and pull apart the data in new and interesting ways. Now, I just wanted to quickly cover this off in terms of these capabilities in your customer or your organization that you've chosen. Which of these do you think they need to focus on based on your knowledge of them? Is it content discovery, guided analytics, natural language query, visual analytics, augmented analytics, engagement, or all of the above? Let's just kind of see where you think the white space is in your organization. And Amelia, if you want to take some more questions now while we're waiting for the survey results to come in, we can do that.
Yeah, let me just see here if there's any new questions. And everyone, this is just a reminder to please put your questions in the chat. I think we're doing okay so far, Francois. No additional questions.
So I don't know if we've got any results back on the poll. Do we want to close the poll and just check the results?
Let's give them a couple more seconds. I can see about half of our people have voted. So we'll give them maybe 10 more seconds. And again, no wrong answers here. Just select whichever ones are most appropriate to you. All right, let's take a look at those results. So interesting. Looks like guided analytics is the highest, but we have lots of ones that are really close contenders. The content discovery, engagement and collaboration, really across the board. Interesting. Okay. Anything additional about guided analytics that you can kind of speak to?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is during the next session that I run with Rachel, we're going to go through some ways to improve interactivity. So firstly, we're going to discuss how we build complex relationships between multiple data sources and resolve level of detail problems. This is one of the big problems typically when you start to connect data across multiple apps and domains. You end up with issues in terms of calculations and things. So we have some great tools that do that. And we'll also cover off how we make things actionable. So how we create things like filter actions and set actions to enable these more dynamic experiences where you are dramatically reshaping your data while in that kind of dashboard workflow. So I'm going to switch gears now and quickly look at the data curator experience, because in order to get the data into a shape where people can actually self-serve, you need to do a bit of work. Raw data looks ugly, and we have like a great way of like enriching the data when you publish it into Tableau so that people can discover it more easily and so that they can get more value out of it quickly. And we think there's 3 elements to the data curator experience. The first is you need to be able to connect, model, and curate your data. The second is you need to establish lineage, metadata. You need to have version controlling over your data sources, and we can do that in the platform. And then finally, people need, we're not going to go through this poll yet. We'll do the poll. Oh, we can do it now if you like.
Yeah, I think while you're explaining it, Francois, let's let them weigh in.
Yeah. Finally, you need to manage extracts and create secondary data assets. So what we mean is sometimes you want to be live, sometimes for reasons of, you have a particularly critical dashboard that needs to be loaded into memory in Tableau. You'd like to toggle that to an extract. Sometimes you have data that's a very granular level of detail and you'd like to aggregate it up to answer a specific question. So in this space within the platform, we've also added the ability to manage all of that without leaving the platform. So these are the 3 roles of a data curator, and we'll go through these in one integrated workflow as well. Do we want to quickly close up the poll and see what the thoughts are?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So it's the first core thing that people have come up and said. It's 67% saying we need to really focus on connect, model, curate. That's fine. That's the bulk of this quick walkthrough of the experience. So let's jump into it. What I have here is I have a in this case it's a Databricks cluster. So I'm connecting to my my lakehouse architecture, and what I'm going to show you is what does it look like to start off with a completely blank sheet of paper and curate a data source in a way that makes it so that your users can get a great experience on day one. So apologies, I'm gonna this is going to be a little bit dull while I quickly type in some credentials. So what I'm doing is I'm connecting to Databricks cluster. Let me move some of the stuff off and get my credentials.
Hey, Francois.
Yep.
While you are typing in your credentials, maybe this would be a nice time to ask another question.
Awesome, let's do it.
All right. So we have a lot of people who are excited about natural language query, which I definitely share that enthusiasm. And Mitsu would like to know, last time they were planning to discuss how we can define our own customized NLP. So I'm just wondering if you can shed any light into that.
Okay, so the experience that you get inside Ask Data is, so the way Ask Data works, which is our natural language query that is built into the data platform, is that is designed to automatically profile the data, to understand what the domain elements are within each of your columns, to automatically analyze the column names, and then to use semantic understanding to enable people to answer brand new questions without you having to define like a chatbot type workflow. So that is the specific job for Ask Data. Now, elsewhere in the Salesforce portfolio, we have these kind of more chatbot-like experiences, for example, in Service Cloud and things which are designed for people that want to create these, I have a specific question, I have a specific answer, or that takes me to a specific action. And that is a different experience. So just to understand what Ask Data is and what it isn't. Ask Data is not a chatbot. It is a way of turning plain old English questions and mapping them to your data in a way that you can turn those into structured queries. Obviously, chatbots fulfill a different function, and you'll see that actually those chatbot type experiences will be more important as we invest more in collaboration platforms, and that's kind of I think that's all I can really cover off on this at the moment. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you so much. It's a great turning point. I'll take a note on it. Maybe we can double down in a future session.
Yeah, so the challenge here is we're embargoed on some of the recent acquisitions that we've made, and you'll see that there's a lot more emphasis on chatbots coming as we go forward. So let's maybe follow that up in a month or so's time, if that makes sense.
Yes, and that's a great point. So any of the questions we don't get to today, I'll post a link to our Tableau partner technical community group on LinkedIn, and you're welcome to join us and ask any of your questions there, and we will make sure to get to them.
Brilliant. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm just connecting to a data source, and I've just pulled in a couple of tables, and Tableau's discovered a relationship between them. I'm just going to accept the defaults. This is a really simple like HR database. So what I have here is I have a list of personnel and a list of office locations, and we're just going to prepare this data in a way that makes it sensible for people to self-serve insights out of it. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to try and find my mouse. We should be going to build some hierarchies, and you'll see what I'm doing here is I'm actually live querying the data as we go forward. So let's hope that my Databricks cluster is running. Otherwise, this will be a very short experience. I may have to, oh, here we go, great, okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at some of the hierarchies that Tableau has discovered for me. And the way we think you should curate data is you should combine data exploration with data curation, because you're constantly checking that the data works the way you expect it to work based on your knowledge of the data set. So in this case, I can see that my drill down is working well. I've got country and city that Tableau has automatically discovered. But Tableau has missed out this additional element here. So region, it should be part of that hierarchy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add that in, just drag and drop that in, and let's just test that that's now working correctly. Okay, so I can see that that is now behaving the way I expect my data aggregation to work. You notice we're not creating any cubes, we're not doing any of that pre-compilation. We are just changing metadata. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build this a second hierarchy, which is I have these two fields, employment category and contract type. And by exploration, I can see that the right order of aggregation there is kind of in this order. You drill down from contract type to employment category. So I'm just going to define another hierarchy. Again, it's drag and drop simple. By defining the hierarchy, I'm actually defining how my data should behave when people are self-serving their insights. And I can also kind of compare those. I can kind of see that when I look at the region versus contract type and employment category, that basically makes sense and the data looks complete. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to look at what that starts to feel like if I break down that data by gender. So in this case, I can see that there's some kind of cognitive bias here because Tableau's chosen a default color palette, which is good for colorblind people, but it puts women on blue and men on orange. And maybe when people start to read this, that creates confusion. So what I do here is I just I map this up in a way that means that my consumers are going to get like an awesome experience out of the box. So I'm probably going to put them on gender neutral colors so that people don't get this kind of cognitive bias. The next thing I probably want to do is look at creating some convenience functions. So it's very useful to create, calculated fields like, number of women. In which case, the way I would do that is I would just, create a simple calculation like this. So if my gender equals, what have we got here? Female. Is that right? Then return me a 1, else return me a 0. And what I'm doing here is in plain old Excel-like notation, I am creating additional facts, which people can use when they're asking plain old English questions. So they can now say, give me all the women per country. And now Tableau knows how to understand that. The final thing I'm probably going to do is I don't really think it's super interesting for people to always analyze data at the most granular level. So I can, like we showed before, I can look at the data at individual age and tenure level, but it's probably more important that I have some buckets there that people can work with. I mean, the reality is cohorts are much more interesting from an analytical perspective than these kind of, what have I done here? Than these individual, oh shit, sorry, I have finger trouble here. I keep pressing the back button. So this is the view which I showed you earlier, which is essentially what does it look like if I look at an individual level at age and tenure. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to create a new perspective. I'd like to create some cohort fields where essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to firstly create some age range buckets. And maybe I'm going to create some tenure range buckets. And what that's going to let me do is it's going to let me give this data to my employees in a way that they can kind of break it down into ways that might make more sense for them. So they can start to analyze the data like in a meaningful way straight out of the box. There's actually a couple of ways you can do that. You can do it manually by defining calculations. You can also do it automatically by, for example, defining, let me kind of show you what that feels like. I could define a histogram for age, and then I could play around with bin sizes until I have something which matches the way that I would like to speak about my data. So maybe 5-year bins make sense for me when I'm analyzing HR data, and maybe that's a useful thing for me to materialize. Now, the point is, what I've been doing here is we haven't actually seen me move into a tool that looks like a data curation tool. I've been moving between data exploration and data curation. But the whole time, what I've actually been doing is preparing my data in a way that is going to give my users a great experience out of the box. Now, all that I do is I save this as a published data source. And when I save that as a published data source, because I've been doing all that enrichment activity, because I've been creating these things like bins and cohorts, and I've been creating convenience functions, and I've been adjusting the color and the numeric formats and what have you. When my users come in, I am confident that when they connect to that newly published data source, they will get a great experience when they come in to ask data and they start to ask their first questions. Okay, so now I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to hand over to Christian. I'm really sorry, we are running very, very far behind. So I think what we're going to do is overrun the session. If you're okay, Christian, we'll probably have to run over by about 15 minutes, but we will record it. So if anyone has to drop off early, then we'll do that. Christian, I'm going to hand over to you. Sure. I'd like to cover off the next persona, which is mobile.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen. Right, can you see my screen?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Okay, let me just put it into full screen. All right. Well, now let's switch gears completely into a new, let's say, persona that's it's on the go and it's actually looking at their data on their mobile devices, right? And we all know that looking at the same data in a mobile device is a complete different experience. And Tableau actually it delivers a mobile app that it's available on the App Store, on the Google Play Store, and what you actually have access there, it's not just a, let's say, a port of the web into the mobile, but you have a complete different experience, right? You have access to see metrics, subscription, which we're going to go in just a second during the demo. But also this app allows you to, for example, configure for mobile device management in your organization. If you have a bring your own device approach, you can even go for mobile access management, and you can find the relevant, popular content. And we're going to actually look at as well how you can interact with the view within the mobile device, and also what is the authoring experience for those. Just as Francois was doing, you can do all these visualizations, how you can actually make the experience for those mobile consumers to be, more tailored for and in a responsive way for their needs. Now, just before jumping into a demo, right? I would like to, to reflect and write down with that pen and paper a use case within one of your customers that will benefit from consuming analytics on mobile, right, rather than in the browser. So, for example, what are the job roles of the mobile data consumers? I mean, are they people on the fields? Are they, salespeople that are looking at their mobile all the times? Perhaps people on the factory, on the supply chains, and what are the key questions they need to answer? When we go into a mobile experience, what we want is to have answers, quickly to our needs, right? And really important because, as we just saw with Francois, what data sources and applications do they need to pull data from, right? Is this most likely the same? Do you think that they might need a new data source? And all of this, it starts, this activity allows us to start, putting on the feet of those people that will start consuming them, their analytics with their mobile, right? So that's, we believe that it's a good activity, to even you can run with your customer, so you can actually start, like thinking about how you can deliver analytics on the go, right? So I'm going to now jump into the demo, and as you know, the flow for a person that looks at the mobile data, the mobile consumer, well, the flow starts on the phone, right? And here is my phone, and you will see that I have already the mobile Tableau app. When I go into that application, what I get presented is a very similar homepage that what Francois mentioned. At the bottom, you can see the recommendations. So I have access to those data, and then on the recents, I can see a metric there that is actually looking. And metrics is all about being on top of your data. If you're tracking specific APIs, you can see how it actually looks at across time, and you can actually make a comparisons, for example, against the previous year, and show a comparison line all out of the box within the mobile app, right? So you can take a look at how actually it performed against previous year, and you can actually share this link as you will do with any mobile app, such to your chat or Salesforce, and look at what was the percentage difference from the previous years. I can also, of course, take a look at the dashboard, right? So I want to take a look at the visualization. And you can see here that the visualization has been, it's aligned. The layout is what I would expect for my mobile app. I can see at the top that I have some filters. I can filter these visualizations, which are, and I can see also how I can interact with the views, and I can tap on it. And for example, I can keep only, or if I have more filters, this will happen. And at the top, I can actually put this as part of my favorites. And if I go back to my home now, I can see that this dashboard is on my favorites. Now, this is a experience, that I will get if I look at the mobile app. Again, this mobile app, it's native to iOS or to Android devices. And I would just like for you to see how this dashboard looks when you go into Tableau Server, right? So the dashboard that I was looking at, that sales dashboard. If I look at this on the web, you will see that it's a completely new layout, right? So I have the exact same dashboard, and it actually I can actually take a look at on the web. Now on every dashboard, you will be able to create your metrics, which is what we just show. And when I click on the metrics, I can see if there are other metrics, which is the one that you saw on the demo. That there is a metric that has been created, and of course I can create a new metric. You will see this more in more detail with Francois and Rachel session. But if you click on on any data point, you can create a metric for me to be on top of my KPIs on the mobile. Now I would like to show you what is that authoring experience for the mobile, right? So I'm going to edit this dashboard here, and when I get into the dashboard, I can actually see on the top left, I can see that I have what we call the mobile layouts. So by simply clicking on, for example, on the tablets layout, you will see how it will be rendered on a tablet device, or for example, on a phone device. Now, Tableau automatically has this intelligent engine to make it, the view responsive. But of course, I mean, if I'm honest, that perhaps I really don't need all the visualizations in my mobile, right? So I don't want my users to be like looking at visualization that may not be relevant for them. So I can actually decide if I want to delete one of them, for example. And then to me, the first filter it's to look at is the week of date close. So I can actually rearrange my view. I can edit those titles to make it a bit more like the font to be more relevant. And of course, I can actually add more. I can add more elements into my view. For example, like if I would like my users to have a country filter, right? So all of this. It's the mobile experience, and again, I'm looking at the same data source. I'm looking at the same data that has been actually prepared for me for my dashboard, and any of these changes that I just did does not change the default. In this case, is the browser. It's not changing anything on the default, right? Even if I remove a visualization, it's only applying on the mobile. The last thing that I would like to show you as well is that if you have, for example, if your customers that where the organizations are giving the mobiles devices, like they give you an iPhone all the time that you go, or a Samsung, you can actually have this device previews to see how it would look like. For example, if my users are going to use an iPhone X, and you can actually see how it will look like if they rotate the view for you to be on top of the layouts of these devices. Okay, now I want to also now to cover the next the next topic, which is, because I mean, again, I'm interested in the time, and we're looking at the
So Christian, we're going to skip the data rockstar thing. So it's just take your time on the embedded thing.
Okay.
And we'll skip the data rockstar thing. We'll push that into Rachel and my session. Okay.
Awesome. Great. All right, and of course, I mean, as well, if you have any questions, I mean, about what we're going to going through, feel free to put it on the chat. I want to now actually take into the next topic of the session, which is the external and embedded analytics, right? I mean, with all these capabilities that we have been showing, we believe that we can deliver analytics ubiquity within every customer, right? So with every customer, you can actually embed your Tableau and give it into the hands of every employee. But also, I mean, we can we can also, go further with external analytics. We can make data part of the way that businesses interact with your partners. You can talking about monetizing your data assets, enhance software products, and we can bring world-class analytic experience into software products, for example, right? So this is one the pillars that we believe for when we talk about embedding. And embedding, it's all about, I mean, making the customer reflect on the fact that the data is unique, right? So you have a lot of data that you have created and your customers and suppliers or partners will have them to actually take a look at it. So, and with that, we believe that you shouldn't just keep your data away, right? So your data is worth sharing, then protect it, right? So we do not believe that your partners or customers, will know how to understand. And also, I mean, the most important part as well is that people want insights, right? So there's no point of, for example, monetizing data, I mean, that you send on Excel file, or you just can download the data. What we really want is to be, we want to be relevant. We want those external customers to be able to benefit from all the capabilities and be able to get their own insights from their data, right? Rather than just looking at information that can be downloaded. And for that, I mean, we can actually think about how this applies to my business, right? So you can transform the customer experience, right? So you can actually take a look at how you can actually bring this experience of analytics in a very tailored way, or even add that stickiness, to bring more engagement, and also you can create new revenue streams, as we were saying, as I was saying, and you can actually monetize your data. You can actually direct us revenue generation from that still data and get even more out of it with external embedded, So for that, I mean, Tableau gives you a complete set of tools to actually embed Tableau into any of your applications, right? So there is a set of APIs that's, again, the one that we're going to go through it in some of the demos. I mean, is, for example, the JavaScript API, where you can actually custom interface for interacting with the view. So, for example, if you have elements for filtering or changing parameters, you can actually make those before or after the visualization has loaded. REST API to programmatically, access to your users, and we provide you a single sign-on. The Tableau has that single sign-on capabilities for SAML, OpenID, Active Directory. And last but not least, I mean, you saw just before that I consume my visualization from the mobile Tableau mobile app. But if there is the need to create a new mobile app specifically for your customers, we also deliver a mobile app bootstrap to do that embedding. And because we are of course, I mean, we are now part of Salesforce ecosystem. We also deliver. We have a Lightning Web component to make it easier to all Salesforce customers to embed Tableau visualizations within any Salesforce page, whether it's a record page or home pages, and that can be filtered. And we have a single sign-on experience for those customers using SAML. And now I'm going to show you those two elements. I'm going to show you how to embed Tableau into your applications, and I'm going to start with a dashboard. I'm going to start with embedding into Salesforce using a dashboard. And what I have here is a dashboard that has LinkedIn Sales Navigator data, right? So I have a dashboard that if I look at it, I can see how is my team performing in terms of that LinkedIn data. So I can see how many emails my field sales and inside sales teams are actually sending using the LinkedIn platform, calls, LinkedIn messages, customer meetings, and this is data that is great. And to me, it would be really important for every for every seller to have it within their Salesforce CRM, so to have it embedded, to have it part of their flow. So I'm going to go into what I would like to do is that I would like that every time that everyone looks at their profile page in Salesforce, for them to see that information embedded into the application, right? So for that, I'm going to edit this page. And now I'm going to the Lightning App Builder where actually I will be able to take a look at those at that Lightning Web component. At the moment, I'm getting all my custom Lightning Web components, where I can actually find here I can find the Tableau visualization Lightning Web components, and I can just simply drag and drop. And when I use it for the first time, what I can see is that Tableau loaded a example visualization from Tableau Public. But I want to bring is my this LinkedIn data that I just had from my Tableau online site. So every visualization in Tableau, you will see this share button, where you can share using a link, which is the one that I'm going to use, or you can copy the embedded code, which will give you the JavaScript code that I was showing you on the slide before. So I'm going to copy this link, and then I'm going to paste it into the URL. Now I can see that visualization is I can see it in my preview. I can change just a bit the height, and as part of this Lightning Web component, because I'm on a record page, I can actually filter the Tableau view based on the current Salesforce record, right? So for example, in my case, I'm looking at my user, and you can see here that I can see data for all the users, and I don't want that. I want just to see my data, so I can actually just click it on the record page, and now you can see that the visualization has changed, right? So that's great. And if, for example, if your Tableau visualization has, for example, additional filter, for example, if you have a Salesforce object field, you can actually pass it as well, right? So it's you have those two ways of filtering, and well, that's the Lightning Web component experience that we wanted to show you. Again, this is for those use cases where you would like to embed Tableau visualizations into Salesforce, but I'm going to show you like that external embedded analytics use case, right? So for those that like to that are developers or data devs and people here on the call, you may find that sometimes what you have is external portals that you can give to your external customers. So in this case, what I have here is a financial services portal that I give access to my investors, and my investors for them to take a look at their data, right? So this is a complete external portal. This has been created with any web development techniques, and I can actually I log in with my username and password to get into this portal, and when I get in, I can actually see that that I have my workspace, and these are Tableau visualization embedded into this portal, right? And the great thing is that well, I can actually embed any visualizations, rearrange it, but also the end user here that is looking at the investor that is going into the news, they don't even know that they're using Tableau, right? On the behind the scenes. This is actually great because you can do it via the JavaScript API, and also, I mean, you can actually deliver tailored experiences for those customers. For example, the investors will have access to the analytics insights, and these are visualizations that you will find on Tableau, and these have been embedded here. That's I can see the preview of them. I can actually take a look at that current asset, And so I can see the asset evaluation and how my investments are going. And as you can see, this visualization has been already pre-selected a Tally corporation. And of course, I mean, this visualization here, I can actually interact with it as the same way that I would do with any Tableau visualizations. But at the top, you can see that those actions that we were looking at in Tableau have been, redesigned, using the to match the styles for this portal, but also using the APIs. I can send those events, for example, if I would like to download the PDF, or for example, if I would like, for example, to bring filters on a different way. For example, I can change these bottom 5 stocks to show, for example, only the Kellogg company, or I can keep adding filters after I actually loaded the visualization, right? So all of that, it's part of the of what you can actually achieve with and more with the JavaScript API. And of course, I can change the page where I am using my navigation. And for those, for example, thinking about those premium users, right? Because you can even have premium customers. You can deliver self-service analytics for them in the like, for example, as data. You can embed as data and give access only to those customers. And then, as you can see here, I mean, I have the as data panel when I can see what is there, for example, the total amount of money that I, like I have per state, invested in my portal. So as you can see, we can with the JavaScript API, with combination with all the APIs, you can actually deliver those very tailored and transformative experiences for customers, and actually you can get that external embedded monetization of data as well, because the same can be done using JavaScript API, REST API, and how to embed Tableau within your business portals. Okay, we're going to run one last survey. Another activity is to write down an example of external use case within your customers, right? So this is another activity, and for you to reflect on which of the following categories you think it applies to if you have an external use case. For example, if you would like to have customer and partner data portals that you can deliver for them, or monetize data assets, like the example that you can give some access to external parties, or enhance software products, so such as, for example, if you have a software application and you would like to bring Tableau as part of those as part of that software application, right? So these are really good activities to reflect to how will this improve your revenue or support your customer strategic objectives, right? So how you can partner with your with the customers, and who are the external data consumers, right? How many and what job roles? I mean, are they different? Because they are different. They are still data consumers, but they have a different profile, right? And how do those external data consumers interact with your customer today? Are they, for example, receiving just a PDF report, an Excel file for with their data, and how this will improve, by using external analytics. Right, and with that, we're going to pass it to.
Yeah. So Christian, what we're going to do is we're just going to jump to the summary. Yep. Guys, apologies, my timekeeping hasn't been great today, so I'm going to skip the Data Rockstar session, and we will push that into a follow-up session that Rachel and I will run. So what we tried to focus on today is really in order to reach as many people in the company with data as possible, there are actually a number of personas that you need to reach. Firstly, it's the people who are, explorers, who are data curious. Secondly, it's the people who just will not consume data unless it's inside their applications. So Christian's touched a little bit on those with embedded, but also we think mobile overcomes the obstacles. The third persona we spoke about was the sort of the data curator, someone that may be in charge of the data warehouse or the data lake strategy. The first thing, we kind of showed how they prepare data assets, but the reality is Christian will run a follow-on session to show, once they've published that data asset, how do we track lineage? So how do we know exactly what assets been generated from that? And secondly, how do we use data prep tools to generate secondary data sources from that? So how do we manage extracts, manage aggregation, use the platform to reshape the data and cleanse the data in new ways? And then the final thing is we will touch on during the follow-up session, we will touch on what we call the data rockstar experience. So it's not just about providing data to the many, it's also about providing data to people who are genuinely amazing at working with data and want to create these amazing experiences. So there's a few topics there. Spatial analytics is becoming really important in a lot of sectors. People want to be able to combine external spatial information with internal company data so that they can make better decisions about location and place. Secondly, data science integration is becoming more important. We announced recently that we will be enabling you to bring Einstein discovery models into Tableau. But during the follow-up session, we'll go through how you can bring any model from any data science tooling. So for example, Data Robot or AWS SageMaker or Data IQ into your workflow. And then I guess the final topic we'll cover off during the Data Rockstar experience is how do you make your dashboards interactive and like really, make it so that your users have an app-like experience. And the way we do that is with we have an actions framework which enables you to turn any clickable data point into something we can use to filter or change the behavior of another visualization. So I want to thank you for joining the session, and just keep the questions coming. If you would like to reach out to me for any questions, I am fzimmerman@tableau.com. And I'll make sure that we'll get back to you and keep the conversation going. Also, look at the link that Amelia's published about the LinkedIn group. And please join our technical community on LinkedIn. Keep the conversations coming there. We will always use that technical community to provide previews and insights into upcoming features. So it's a great way to keep in touch. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your time today.